grow in that area. I just want to grow in that area, just to go into complete silence and be there with Baba and be there with Baba, just understanding that this is where I belong, this is where I want to be. But in this human body, with all the restrictions and all the limitations, it's a little bit difficult.
That's right. We've had a few more of these this week on this concept of dead silence.
I'm not hearing. Okay.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect. I'm hearing now.
Okay. So sorry if there's a bit of a delay. We've had all sorts of internet issues this week. And in the events that I get disconnected, then please do carry on chit-chatting amongst yourselves and I will rejoin when I can.
Perfect. Yes, great idea. Okay. I'd like to just share something that I've started to do early in the morning to make it much easier, because I've kind of evolved my my churning sort of note taking, and I've started to separate a page each day into Shiv Baba's world, Brahma Baba's world, Brahmin's world, and then you know, the physical world, so that I've got that concept of the three worlds, and I put a little dot in each one, and then whichever point Baba's making and referring to, I fill in the gaps in each of those worlds. So that's been helping enormously to have a structured approach to the note taking, because it can be endless. In the Murli, you know, the essence and the power in the words get lost sometimes because there's so many, and that's just helped me to put some structure around that, and that's something that's been interesting. So I've really enjoyed my note making changes.
That's a really good suggestion. I like that a lot. Frameworks are very useful for note taking, and I like that you've use the three worlds as your framework for note-taking, so it also helps your awareness. And I think you're right, it's in every Morali, Baba would cover different aspects of the three worlds, so it sounds like a very, very good system. And that is something that we can all practice with. And we could use different course pictures to actually take the Morali notes under as well and think about it that way as a framework. That's really a great idea.
Thank you.
Hello, Judy Ben. Good to see you on the screen.
Om Shanti, brother. I'm glad to be here.
So yes, I think Lynette Ben was sharing about the practice of the point form and this dead silence. Aisha Ben was sharing about how do we maximize listening to the Morali. So I think it is this message consistently, isn't it? It's all about yoga and it's all about the Morali. I mean, that message is very, very clear from Baba. So all of us need to carry on our focus and use different methods to continue to focus. For listening to the Morali, I tend to do student themes, so I use I try and discern what are the themes that are coming up from the Morali, and usually there are 4 or 5 main ones. And then because I have the opportunity to share with all of you each day, I'm thinking, right, what would brothers and sisters benefit from the most? What should I focus on and clarify? And hearing it in Hindi, sometimes I'm catching maybe a feeling behind the language or something that might not come across in a translated version. So again, it's that. So I also use a framework, and so it is this thematic analysis of the Morali, and then seeing what connections there are. I also remind myself of the previous day's Morali and the previous Sunday's Morali. So I try and build connections between the Moralis so that, because as Brahmins, we can work in silos of each day, and the morning morally by even the afternoon can be forgotten. And so many things are happening in a day, our mind is in so many directions. Then we hear the morally again the next morning, but actually it's quite nice to have a look at themes across a week sometimes and just see how they, in many cases, the moralies we hear are one day after another, not always. So we heard this week a couple of moralies which seem to be to the same group of mothers. And again, that you could see how he would pick a topic and then reinforce it the next day and maybe expand upon it. So that also helps us to understand how Baba explains. This concept of dead silence, I think, is a really, really interesting one. And it was emphasized again in this morning's morally, where Baba kept saying, this is the great mantra. This is the Maha Mantra for all of you. And as far as Shiv Baba, as I was hearing the morally, I could just feel Shiv Baba's focus on us all becoming incorporeal. And so this, I hope you can all still hear me.
Yes.
Yes, it just came up with a sign that my internet connection was unstable. So we've had all sorts of our internet, the actual landline internet has gone down completely. So I'm speaking to you through a mobile internet connection. If it does go out, please all of you do carry on chit-chatting, and then I will rejoin when I can. So this morning, feeling from Shiv Baba really that he wants us to take our awareness out of the drama as much as possible. The process of 84 births means that we will be used to thinking about the expansion. So if we visualize ourselves in the soul world, that's our seed form. That's our original and eternal form. And then the role that we play down here is the expansion. Now, what's happened is that we've lost the connection with the essence of ourselves, the seed of ourselves. And we live in the expansion. And the mind, intellect, and sanskars, I see them as petals that have unfurled from the bud. So I see the seed form in the soul world as the soul like a bud, a flower bud. And when we incarnate into a body, the mind, intellect, and sanskars unfurl. And what's occurred is that the mind, intellect, and sanskars, they, in the golden and silver age, they still have this ability to connect with the essence. So Baba says that we don't really have an experience of death in the golden and silver ages because the mind, intellect, and sanskars, they're able to just stay in eternity. And when you're in that eternity, you just feel a continuum. You don't feel a stopping and a starting happening. And then as time has gone on, from the Copper Age onwards, the mind, intellect, and sanskars have lost that ability, or it has become much more fleeting. So we would perhaps have to go to an ashram, go and do some sort of particular spiritual practice in order to feel that again. But the mind, intellect, and sanskars then become more and more rooted down in this world. And I think that it becomes a normality. Once you're in a particular soil, the plant becomes adapted to that new soil. to that new environment. So if originally we were a flower up in a tree, up in a bush, then sometimes what happens is that the flower, the seeds, and everything, it falls to the ground and it takes root in the new soil. And I think this is what's happened, is that we are now rooted into the soil of the drama. So we are what Baba calls body consciousness. And because of that, when Baba is saying to us, can you hold this stage of dead silence, we really do struggle with that one. And it's because the mind and intellect have got a new normality. One of the things that physical yoga teachers teach is that before you practice any poses, any asanas, you must prepare your body. So if you are going to do a hamstring stretch, you have to have a process of warming up the hamstring. You have to prepare. It's like they describe it like a communication with your body, so that the body doesn't have a big shock that you didn't do any stretching for the whole week and suddenly you're expecting that hamstring to do that. And I think it's a similar thing with our practice of bodilessness, that the mind and intellect, there has to be a bit of preparation going on. If we are just expecting that we will click into something, because like if you have your hamstring, it actually contracts because we haven't stretched it during the week. We're just doing our usual things. And when it's contracted, it's not flexible. So the mind and intellect, as we perform actions, they begin to just contract and they become tighter. I think, brothers and sisters, I'm just going to turn off the video so that I'm hoping that the internet connection will be better with a lower bandwidth if I turn off my video. So can you all still hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Very
Yes.
good.
Perfectly. Yeah, that's
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I hope you don't mind. You'll be looking at my bodiless form in front of you, so rather than the body. So I think what happens is, as Brahmins, we have a good day. So you'll have a good day where your bodilessness is really powerful and you're enjoying yourself a great deal. And it's not feeling like effort. And that day, your hamstring has become loose. But hamstrings don't stay loose, because actually there's a natural process of contracting and becoming tight again. And the mind and intellect, they're not used to being bodiless. That's not the norm for them. The norm is being busy and thinking and doing and talking. That's become the norm for the mind and intellect. So how I see it is that there has to be this preparation for it. And that preparation is sometimes going to be done well, and sometimes it just won't be done as well. And we have to, I think, look at ourselves almost across a month. Just like if you were trying to lose physical weight or develop a certain fitness, you know that it's not going to happen in a day. So it's quite a good idea to set ourselves like a month. And we say, okay, I'm aiming to hold my thought for 30 seconds after 30 days. So in this next 30 days, I should reach a point where I can hold for 30 seconds. So then, because we've got that target, we can continually remind ourselves and prepare ourselves. And some of that is our natural routine of Amrit Vela listening and churning the morally. And then we might need to practice drills in between, this traffic control drills. And in those practices, we might just do 5 seconds. So it's like the warm-up of the muscle. So we're not trying to do 30 seconds every time. But what we're doing is, okay, I'm going to just, you're talking to someone, like for example, you're listening to me now, and you could just in your mind say, while this brother soul is talking, I'm just going to practice being bodiless for 5 seconds in between. And what that's doing is it's just warming your mind and intellect up. So when you sit in yoga later in the day, your muscles are warm, they're loose. So then after 30 days, if we've got that 30 seconds sorted, we can completely, Ranjivan's just joining us, we can completely, we can have some sort of mastery over those 30 seconds. We could then move on to 45 seconds. So I think that that could be a good program for us to try in terms of our concentration development. Thinking about what the daddies have shared, and there's a very interesting story from Sister Jayanti when she was about 14 years old. So her mother was a BK. She was a young person. She was a teenager. She wasn't very interested in those days. But her family is actually related to Brahma Baba's family. They have the same surname. They are Kriplanis. And so they all knew each other anyway from before. And Jayanti Ben's mother was a very powerful BK from the 1950s. And her father was pretty anti-BK at the beginning, but the mother, Sister Rajni, was so strong that she was never going to shake. So he moved to London, and Sister Rajni came. And so the Muralis used to come to London from about 1960. And then once every 2 or 3 years, they used to take a trip to India and spend some time in Madhubad, meeting Baba. So this was one of those meetings. And with Sister Jayanti being there, there were also some other seniors. So this was out of season. And so there were just the seniors beginning to meet and plan. She recounts one occasion where it was the early days of holding meetings without Mama and Baba. So this was after Mama, so about 1966. And up until then, it was really a case of you just checking with Mama and Baba what to do and then doing that. But Baba was beginning to create these systems of Brahmins meeting and planning service, and then Baba would join them at the end to hear about their ideas and then give his own thoughts. So in that meeting were Daddy Prakashwani, Didi Manmohini, Brother Jagdish, like some of these sorts of souls. And Sister Jayanti was in the courtyard area, and Brahma Baba was going to join that meeting at the end. And he said to Sister Jayanti, do you want to come along and sit? So she went with him, and she had the opportunity to sit in to that interaction. And she recalls that the first sharing was from Didi Manmohini. She was the senior sister of the Yagya, the daddy's Didi. And Didi was saying to Baba that her first thing, her first comment or their first thought was, now that Mama's not there anymore, there isn't that focal point, like that, that senior sister that everyone would look to. And when she would visit the different centers, many other people would come to want to meet that senior person. And so Didi said to Baba that we all think that you should name another mama. We should have a second mama. And Sister Jayanti, she recalls that Baba went into silence for a few seconds. And then he responded by saying, there can't be a second mama, there's only one. And then it was like a realization for Sister Jayanti that every soul has their own role. And then, of course, we saw later on how the daddies, they had to play their role. So at that point, they were younger, they were juniors, but they had to step up. There wasn't going to be another mama figure. And then she also recalls how some of the seniors were also sharing their chart with Baba. And it was around the 1960s, so in the maybe 64, 65, 66, you'll hear Muralis from that time where Baba begins to talk about this point form, dead silence, much more. And Sister Jayanti recalls Daddy Prakashvani sharing her chart with Baba at that time. And it was particularly this seed stage. And Baba had been saying in some of those Muralis that you have to reach a point where you can stabilize in that point form, in that seed stage, for 8 hours in a day. So that, you can imagine, is a very high standard. But I think that's where Mama and Baba had got to. So I think this is what he's sharing, that that's where he's at. And Daddy Prakashvani said that she was checking her chart and she was nowhere near this 8 hours at that time. She said that her checking was 30 minutes in a day. So she would have been with Baba about 30 years by then. And so very focused yogi. And that's what she was sharing. So again, Sister Jayanti remembers Baba going into a few seconds of silence and then saying to her, that's what Baba would expect. So Baba's aware that this is a progression, that we are not going to be able to do this instantaneously. But if you think Daddy Prakashvani had worked at that, she got to herself a total, so I don't know how much continuous she could do it, but in total during the day, it was accumulating to 30 minutes. Now, of course, she would have pushed on from that later on. But I think it's making us aware that it's a development. You might remember there was a Morally last week where Baba said that you children will reach 8 hours, you will be in your karmatit stage at the end. And I think that that is another acknowledgement that Baba knows it's a development for us. I think Mama and Baba were exceptionally quick on a lot of things. But, I mean, it's not to say it's not possible, but I think we have to be aware, just like with Hatha Yoga, like with physical exercises, we have to have a realism there. And so I think it's very, very good, Sister Lynette, that you're practicing, you're keeping that focus. And I think you should be pleased with what you're achieving rather than being worried about it only being a certain number of seconds, but then to accumulate that more during the day. Would you like to come back, Sister Lynette, on that?
No, I'm glad of the explanation you brought about when it's senior sisters. they had to develop it after a while. So it gives us hope that we can also do it. And that means a lot. Thank you.
Yes, I think so, precisely. One other anecdote. So Sister Shashi from London, she had become a BK in the 1970s. So she had had an opportunity to spend quite a lot of time with Didi Manmohini, who was the senior sister of the Yagya in those days. And she really remembers Didi's balance of humor, joyfulness, and seriousness. This was something that really stayed with her. Sister Shashi was a young mother in those days. She had a 2-year-old, and she would take that 2-year-old to Madhuban. And there were not many BKs anyway, and hardly anyone coming from any other countries in those days. So she actually had the opportunity to have lunch with Didi and Daddy Prakashwani many times. So she remembers at the dining table, of course, as you all know, the 2-year-olds just sort of run off if they're at that age where they're exploring. So her 2-year-old, Shalini, she would just go under the table and just sort of crawl off. And then next thing she looks up, Didi Manmohini's under the table, crawling along and playing with the child under the table. And this was Daddy Prakashwani was talking some business over lunch. So Daddy Prakashwani was in the middle of sharing something important. And Didi's under the table playing with the child. And she remembers Daddy Prakashwani saying, Didi, are you listening to me? Yeah, and Didi's under the table playing with the child going, yes, Daddy, I'm listening to everything. Carry on. And it was this ability to concentrate and also play. So she was able to do these two things really well at once. So she'd asked Didi as well once, Didi, because Didi was very famous within the Yagya for her yoga power. In 1980, she had come to London, and Didi Manmohini was Daddy Janki's best friend in the Yagya. Daddy Janki had such great affection for Didi Manmohini. Daddy Janki was never so close to Daddy Prakashwani or so close to Mama, but she had this great connection with Didi Manmohini. And so she was so excited when Didi Manmohini came to London. She went to New York as well. There's some footage from New York. So she made it across to New York and London, and then she was unwell. So she wasn't able to carry on the tour to South America and Australia. But I can't remember whether she made it to Africa. But she went back. And people who were there, like Sister Maureen was there at that time. The one thing everyone remembers was Didi conducting Amrit Vela meditation. And the drishti was just so powerful. So Didi had this reputation for her drishti, her yoga power. But she was not a teacher. So she never gave classes. Although she, like Sister Aisha was sharing earlier, she was a note taker. So the question and answer and essence for dharana in the Murali, these are from her notes. So she developed these sorts, like Sister Aisha was sharing earlier, about having success and enjoyment by using the 3 worlds as a framework to take notes and points on the soul world, points on the subtle region, points in this world. So the essence that's there at the beginning of the transcript, and the question and answer, and then the essence for inculcation at the end. That was how Didi took notes. So she added those into the Murali transcript then for all of us. So she was never a teacher in the class giving way, but a teacher in the, like, what are the methods for studying? And Sister Shashi asked her that, how do you develop this yoga power? You're all day with people, you're talking, how do you do it? And Didi said that she uses her listening time to practice bodilessness. So when she is listening to someone, usually she understands what they want to say within a few seconds. So someone might they might want to share the big story. So you actually are listening for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but you understand what they mean in maybe even inside 1 minute. So Didi would say, then you've got 9 minutes spare actually to practice bodilessness. And she said she learned this from Brahma Baba, really, that Brahma Baba, and Shiv Baba mentions this in some Muralis as well, that as Brahma was becoming more and more karmatit, he was moving closer to his angelic form, he had stopped listening to trivial things. Because when you're in your karmatit stage, you have an innate knowing. So you already know what they want to say and what they need. And Daddy Janki used to say that they would go in front of Baba with so many things in their mind. And when you're in front of that bodiless stage, you get your answer anyway. You get your answer through the vibration. So Baba would say, do you want to say anything? And they say, no, actually we don't, Baba. And then they just leave. So Didi used her listening time to practice the point form. So maybe this is another thing we can build in this week into our practice, where as we listen, just for a few, even 10 seconds, let's go to the soul world. Let's concentrate in one thought and then carry on listening. And then we can develop a practice of concentrating here and concentrating up above. Would anyone like to come in at this point? If you joined late, apologies that the video is not on. We've got an unstable internet connection. So you're seeing the portrait of Ranjan Ben and I as souls in front of you with Shiv Baba today.
Shanti, very nice sharing, Baba.
Shanti Sisliban.
How are you, Baba?
Yeah, great to have you here.
Thank you. I like this practical application that you shared with about how Daddy Manmohini and others, how because I have that quality that I already know what the person's going to say. And it's like, I know what they're going to say, but what I like is that yukti, what I know what they're going to say. So the time that I'm not listening to the whole story, I can use that to practice being bodiless. So I like that aspect to it, because I know what they're going to tell me. I know the questions they're going to ask. I know what it is that they're going to do. So I don't listen to the expansion. I just don't like questions and this, where do you live? Where do you come from? I just don't fill my head with all of that stuff. And because I just don't want that information in my head, because it makes me tired when people are asking me all these questions. I feel that. So what I like is that I can practice, as you said, just for 30 seconds a day or something, 30 days in that space when people are talking, to just be bodiless, practice the karmatit stage. So I really like that a lot, brother. Thank you, Shanti.
Yes, thank you. Precisely. Didi Manmohini would say that she perfected the body language that has to go with it. So while people are talking, she's nodding her head while she's practicing bodilessness. Yeah. So there's this art of that balance. Daddy Prakash, when he was also wonderful with our eye focus. And
Mhm.
when you watch Bap Dada, it's a real lesson that, you know, Bap Dada, as we know, he's the Lord of the three worlds. So he's sort of in between worlds, even while he's down here speaking immorally. He could be sustaining devotees, giving vision. He can do multiple things. Shiv Baba has this amazing capacity. But if you ever watch the videos, his eye focus, his nodding
Yes.
of the head, his body language gives that feeling that his full attention is with that
Yes.
soul. So he teaches us how to respect souls. And this is the balance. If souls feel that we are not listening and that we are not interested, then of course they feel disrespected.
Absolutely.
And this is going to be, I think, the art for all of us. We can lose balance both ways, can't we?
Yes. Absolutely. So I tend to just give a gentle smile, like I look at them, I engage them with the face and just gently look at them, but I'm not hearing everything. I'm just hearing what I need to know because I already know what they're going to say. So I would gently look in their face and smile, give them a nice smile and just engage in that way because it's because, you know, Baba's been talking about manners. And so it's the way to show manners. If someone's speaking to you, you must have the manners to listen to what they're saying, engage in a way that is the soul feels honored, right? They're honored. You're honoring their words. So yeah,
that's right. And Baba would then move on from that and say, how do you also benefit the soul? So just listening to someone doesn't mean we're helping them. It means they feel respected. But Baba will say to us, first of all, what's the solution? So we should be solution focused as we listen. And if the solution is something we should share verbally, we can do, particularly if the soul is asking for that or open to that. But in many cases, actually, people don't want solutions. They just want to be heard. So
that's it.
in those cases, Baba's solution is through vibration. So he will say to us, children, have you accumulated all the powers? Have you accumulated all the siddhis? So that when someone is meeting you, sharing with you, your eyes, your forehead, your atmosphere gives them what they need.
Yes. And that's through our yoga power, brother. That's through our yoga power. We will know what the soul needs. So you will respond to them appropriately. And they'll say, that's exactly what I needed. That's exactly what I knew. Why? Because the yoga power, Baba knows what the soul needs. So through our yoga power, we are able to serve the soul appropriately.
Yes, and even if we don't know, by keeping Baba with us, he will fill the soul. So another couple of methods. Sister Jayanti used to practice for many years, having Shiv Baba in between her and the other person that she's talking to. So she's visualizing, looking through Shiv Baba like a stained glass, almost like a stained glass window.
Love it.
And that means that our yoga and soul consciousness stay together. So she's practicing seeing Baba and then seeing the soul. And
I
then,
love that.
yeah, and then, of course, we are very aware that it's Baba that is going to just give them what they need. But we have the power to make Baba present. Then the second would be Dada Visharatan. And Dada Visharatan, I think maybe he might have been the best yogi in the yagya, really. He was quite a unique yogi. And very, very focused. So he lived in Madhuban for many years. In fact, I'm not sure that he even left Madhuban for about 30 years, 40 years. He just stayed there. He had no interest in going anywhere, no interest in giving classes, really. He was there to have yoga. And he used to conduct Amrit Vela yoga in the history hall. And I had the chance to meet him a few times one-to-one. And he always gave the same class to I met him 3 times. He gave me the same class 3 times. It wasn't, but that was good for me. I needed to hear it 3 times. And he used to serve some of the day in the accounts department. And it was just like a simple room with a desk, nothing in it really, but 2 white plastic chairs. And he said he always had 2 white plastic chairs because one was for Baba to sit in. So he found it helpful to actually have like a place where you're actually asking Baba, come and sit here. And just like you're aware that a person is in the room, really, while he was working on something, he's concentrating on his paperwork. So he's not really able to practice being bodiless at that time. But he's aware Baba's sitting in the room. So really, he's not wandering around everywhere in his mind. Because Baba's looking at him. And when Baba's looking at you, you're gonna be very, very attentive. So I think these seniors have developed methods that have worked for them. And so I'm really pleased that this topic has come up because it's reminded me of these things. And I'm definitely going to work on these things this week as well. Judy Ben, you've come on the screen. Would you like to come in?
Yeah, Brother Shalan, I'm not sure if I'm asking the right question at the right time, but Baba has been talking a lot about bhakti and yoga. What's the difference with that? But Baba wants you to concentrate more on yoga. That's what I think. But bhakti, what is a bhakti?
Yeah. So technically, the word bhakti means dedication, so devotion. So you'll find people with that name. They'll have the name Bhakti, Sister Bhakti. It's a very popular name and it's a very positive word generally. However, in the Muralis, we have a negative connotation to this word Bhakti because Baba draws a contrast between Bhakti and knowledge. And what he explains to us is that actually human souls should never have really entered the realm of spiritual philosophy because we don't actually know God. So what he's explaining is that we've ended up with thousands of years of scholarship on a God we don't know. And it's actually confused everyone. One of the points he brings up is that in the golden and silver age, there's no bhakti. Now, this is quite remarkable because in religion, we are thinking that heaven must be a place of a lot of worship of God, a place where God himself is, a place where the angels would be singing the praise of the Lord. I mean, this is how we visualize these things. And Baba comes and tells us that actually heaven is a place absent from bhakti. I mean, we had not really thought that that would happen at all. That's quite remarkable. But Baba says it's actually a sign of a pure, wise intellect. The deities do not dabble in things they don't know. This is wisdom. They don't know. They don't know God. They don't go and write books. Who is God? They don't get into that. They stick with what they know. And that's a level of humility. We also didn't expect, after all these conflicts between, say, the church and science for centuries. I mean, how many scientists were killed because they dared to think rather than being told what to think by the church? And Baba comes and says, well, in the heaven, you do have science. And you take that science and you refine it even further. So we had never thought that there wouldn't be religion, but there would be science in it. And Baba says it's because science is actually knowledge. This is empirically tested knowledge. So Baba says that the only knowledge is this scientific knowledge, the knowledge you'd be taught in a standard school, the sort of curriculum you would expect. That is knowledge. And he says knowledge is always a source of income. So that knowledge will enable you to gain employment or start a business. So then, is there such a thing as spiritual knowledge? And Baba says yes, but only the Muralis. So Baba says that only the ocean of knowledge, Shiv Baba, can give spiritual knowledge. And Shiv Baba sees it as human ego to think that we could ever know the cycle, the three worlds, God, all of the things we've been thinking we know about. And we've been fighting wars over these things. And Baba says, you never knew. You never knew me. We have been thinking through our own efforts we can be liberated. Baba says, I've been sitting in the soul world these thousands of years. No one has come. If you were able to do it, someone would have come by now. No one has come. And Baba sees this all as human ego. And so Baba says, now you have to surrender your intellect. You have to have this humility to accept that all the things that we thought we knew about God, about spirituality, actually maybe we didn't. And we need to keep an open mind to listening to the morning. What is Shiv Baba saying to us? And Baba says, okay, if you look at it one way, if all of the bhakti, all of the different practices really worked, would the world be in the condition it is now? Because have we really got a shortage of bhakti? And he then focuses on India because probably most bhakti happens in that country. It is such a diverse, spiritually minded country that you just have so much devotion over so many centuries. There's not a religion in the world that isn't in India. It's a real, like a melting pot of so much spirituality. And yet look at the corruption. Look at the injustice. Look at the inequality. Look at the poverty. And so then Baba says, has the bhakti been working? And this is his logic that really, if you think about it, just take a step back. Does the human creation of spiritual knowledge really work? And is it really giving the world benefit? Or you now have an alternative, which is Shiv Baba's teachings. So this is why Shiv Baba says that it's true, you have been remembering God for centuries, but it's not been the correct one. You have been remembering religious fathers or deities or some mythological depiction of deities, maybe saints, great souls. But how much of your remembrance has actually been of the incorporeal Supreme Soul? And the reality is not even 1%, not hardly anything. So Baba's saying that's why you are also not in the same level of power that you used to be. You used to be very powerful souls that would actually be able to affect nature and the world. You were masters of the world. You were souls with great wisdom and great insight, and you had all resources at your command. Where is all of that power now? So Baba is saying now it's through this method of yoga that you're able to do that, the remembrance of the Father. And also, we've been looking for pathways to eliminate sin. And we've tried everything. Probably in our 63 births of the Copper and Iron Age, we probably tried everything. And look at our heaviness. Look at our regret. Look at our impurity. So it hasn't been working. So Baba says it's actually the remembrance of the Father. That's the only method to destroy your past sins. So therefore, Baba reserves this definition of what constitutes knowledge to be his teachings in the Morali, and then what we are taught in a school, like the non-religious subjects that we are taught in a school. And he views any human creation of spirituality, he calls that bhakti.
Thank you so much, brother. I really didn't understand it, but there's one more question I would like to ask you, because I was talking to my sister, Kita, and she said, ask Brother Shailan, why is it that there are some children that come to Baba from the time they were born, and I had to wait until this older age in order to come to Baba? Why did I come to Baba at this time and not from the time I was a young child?
I remember being in Barcelona about 15, 20 years ago, and there was a BK, I was there for some sort of conference, and there was one sister from the center there that we were just chit-chatting, I think, and I was one of those people who my mother came when I was a child, and she was someone who came later when she was older, and we were talking on this aspect, and I think I had an assumption at that moment, at that time, that it was better to come when you were younger. But this sister had full of self-esteem, actually, about this. And she said to me, no, not at all. Whenever a child is born, it is special. And that really stayed with me. So I don't know if, Judy Ben, you've got more than one child. Have you got more than one child?
Yes, I do. I have a son and a daughter.
So which one was born first and which one was born later?
My son was born first, and my daughter was born 7 years later.
So is your son the better child, your favorite child, or is your daughter
Yes,
also
well,
special?
they are both special children,
Right.
but my son is, is so much worthy of my love and has done everything in the right way.
Right. So what you're saying is this is how Baba sees it, that all the children, whenever they're born, they're special. But like you're saying, sometimes you've got elder children and they play a different role, and so souls like Mama, we're thinking about this week because it's her anniversary date. Last week there's Daddy Shantamani's anniversary date. They came right at the beginning. So I remember one Murali, Brahmins were asking Baba that, oh, we never got to meet Mama. We never got to meet Dada Vishwakishore. We never got to meet so many of these. And it would have been good if they could have stayed longer. And Baba's response, Baba's just the ocean of knowledge, is so smart. And his response was that when you're constructing a building, initially you need the scaffolding, you need the supports. But once a building is getting more ready, you can remove the supports and the building still stands. So a lot of the senior souls, they played that initial role of just getting the foundations laid, getting the walls up. But now you have come as a Brahmin. Maybe your role is to add to the building in a different way. And so I think that we just have many Brahmins, and in terms of astrology, you see, it's your special moment. So every Brahmin, every child has like their birth chart taken in Hinduism, and it's like there's a moment, because that moment of birth is considered auspicious for certain things. So the way Baba would look at it is that it was the auspicious moment for you to take birth. And so that is going to be the method, the timing of success for you. Thanks for that. Would anyone else like to say anything before we move into a bit of the hearing the morally? Okay, so we're preparing for Mama's Day. I'll put up some more materials in the week relating to Mama, but we thought we would hear a morally today which gives us further insight into Mama. One of the topics we've been talking about in these chit chats and also in other classes is how the subconsciousness and the subtle region interact, how a soul becoming karmati, clearing all past accounts, is then able to be in more than one realm at the same time. So just like Shiv Baba was explaining to us a few weeks ago, that he can be in the soul world and in this world at the same time, because when you're beyond time and space, you're in that karmatit stage, you're not limited. So one of the things he had said after Didi Manmahini became karmatit is that even though these souls go into another body, so they're playing a role down here as another person, but because they'd achieved their karmatit stage before they went, part of their mind stays in the subtle region. So there's like, he was saying that the karmatit stage enables the mind to become much more unlimited. And so this is one of the things about Mama. So Mama, she became karmatit in June 1965. And then Baba kept her in the subtle region for a few months, actually, before sending the soul onto another role. And then it's interesting to think about how the dynamic of the subtle region works and how Shiv Baba and Brahma Baba are there as actual souls. So Brahma Baba, the soul of Brahma Baba, is in the subtle region. Shiv Baba can come and go through the three realms. But then we have the angels like Mama and the senior daddies. And Baba tells us they appear in the subtle region. And that's not their soul leaving that next body. The soul is still in the body wherever they are. But then part of their mind is able to appear in the subtle region in that previous confluence age form. So they appear in the form of Mama, in the form of the daddy that they were, in the subtle region. And Baba says that part of their mind continues to sustain us. So they're actually able to help the Brahmins from there. And at Amrit Vela, they tour with Baba. So when you remember Baba at Amrit Vela, Baba becomes present in his subtle form, but also these angels, they're with you too. So it's a very interesting thing to think about and look at. And look at. Now, in the daily Murlis we hear Mondays to Saturdays, we are gaining insights mainly from the 1960s Murlis, so when Brahma Baba was still around in the physical world. And so Shiv Baba's told us to study those Murlis most of the time, so we hear them Monday to Saturday. And then on Sundays, we're repeating the Murlis spoken after Brahma Baba became an angel, where both of them, Shiv Baba and Brahma Baba, came into the body of Devi Gulzar. And you'll have seen the videos as well of those Murlis. And they have a different style of speaking. And in the when Brahma Baba was a human being, he was a very spontaneous person. So a lot of the morally, it like a bit of jumping from one topic to another, and then back to the topic that was there before. It's like a bit circular like that. And they used to ask Baba about that, Baba, what about speaking on just one topic? And Brahma Baba used to say, well, Babdada is the ocean. So when you go to the shores of the ocean, one wave comes in and then goes out again, and another wave comes in and another wave goes out again. So when you hear the daily Murlis, you'll see that one theme comes in like a wave and goes out again, and then another theme comes in like a wave and goes out again. So that's the style of those Murlis that we hear Mondays to Saturdays. But then the Avyakt Murlis, they often do focus on one topic and go into the depth of that topic. And so it's interesting to see that. Now, most of the commentary surrounding Mama tends to be in those Sakar Murlis that we hear from Mondays to Saturdays. So even this week, Baba was talking about the goddess Kali and how Mama, the mother, oh mother, you are everyone's bestower of fortune, and how Mama is the junior mother, Brahma is the senior mother. So we've been hearing about Mama's introduction. So what Shiv Baba does in those Murlis is he tells us who Brahma is, he tells us who Mama is, how they are Lakshmi and Narayan. And then we hear a lot from Brahma Baba, who Shiv Baba is. And he has discovered Shiv Baba. Shiv Baba introduces himself as well. But a lot of it, Brahma Baba is telling us who Shiv Baba is. Shiv Baba is telling us who Brahma Baba is. And we hear, and who Mama is. But in the Avyakt Murlis that we hear on the Sundays, Baba doesn't talk about Mama that much. Not so often. Shiv Baba in those Murlis tends to talk a lot about Brahma Baba. What was Brahma's effort? What was Brahma's stage? How did Brahma handle this situation? We hear a lot about that. And so it's quite nice to have a Murli where Baba has actually involved Mama. So the Murli we're going to hear is the 31st of December, 2000. And you'll see it's a very unique and wonderful Murli for the reason that Mama is very present during this Murli in a way that we don't get in many other Murlis. I'm just going to briefly turn the video on so that you can see, so that you can just see that Ranjan Ben is next to me. So she's going to be reading the Murli. And then I'm just going to turn the, do you want to wave quickly? I'm going to turn the, so I'm going to hand over to Ranjan Ben to read the Murli. I'm going to turn the video off again because we are having internet issues. So over to Ranjan Ben.
Om Shanti. Good morning to all. This is the Murli of 31st December 2000. 31st December 2000. And the theme is credit your savings account and become a constant great donor. Credit your savings account and become a constant great donor. Today, the creator of the new age is seeing his children who have a right to the new age. Today, you are ordinary in the old age, whereas tomorrow, in the new age, you will be worthy of worship, those who have a right to the kingdom. It is a play about today and tomorrow. What are you today and what will you become tomorrow? For specially knowledgeable souls, children, the tomorrow that is to come is as clear as today. All of you have come to celebrate the new year, but Bap Dada is seeing the new age. Each of you must already have created your own new plan for the new year. Today, it is the end of the old year. At the end, the result to the whole year is seen. Therefore, today, Bap Dada also saw the result of the children for the whole year. It doesn't take Bap Dada long to see that. So today, Bap Dada especially saw the savings account of each one of you. All of you children made effort. You also stayed in remembrance. You did service and also fulfilled your responsibilities to the Lokik and alokik close contacts and relations. But how much did you credit in your savings account in all these three aspects? So Baba said, remembrance, service, and fulfilling the responsibilities in the Lokik and Alokik. Those three accounts, Baba aspects. Baba said, how much did you have your savings? So Baba says, today, Bap Dada emerged Mother Jagdamba, World Mother, in the subtle region. Then in bracket it says Baba coughed. So Baba had a cough. Today, the harmonium is not so well. So Baba's body wasn't well. Baba calls it harmonium. But it has to be played. So Bap Dada and Mama together looked at each one's savings account to see how much you credited and accumulated. What did they see? All of you are number-wise. However, there was less credited than there should have been in your savings account. So Mother Jagdamba asked a question. Many children have a very good aim in the subject of remembrance, and they also make good effort. So why then is their savings account not as much as it should be? So that was the question Mama asked Bap Dada. Why, in spite of having an aim of remembrance and also make good effort, so why then there means children's savings account not as much as it should be? After conversing between themselves, the result that emerged was that you do practice yoga, but because the percentage of the stage of yoga is ordinary, the savings account is also ordinary. Your aim of yoga is very good, but the result of yoga is to be yog yukt and yukti yukt in your words and behavior. So it's here, yog yukt is accurate. No?
Yeah, so being complete in your yoga, and then what Baba is saying is then you get everything right. So yukti yukt means taking the right decision at the right time, doing the right thing at the right time. I've shared with brothers and sisters previously that when I was 17, I can recall giving my yoga chart to Lady Janki once, and she just shook her head at me and said, "No, the proof that you're yoga is there is that you do the right thing at the right time, you have the right thought at the right time. And this is what Baba's saying, that we have yoga, but then when he actually looks at, did we think the right thing? Did we say the right thing? Did we do the right thing? If that's not there, there's a mismatch, then our yoga was not really as accurate and powerful as it should have been.
So Baba said, due to this lack at the time of having yoga, you are very good in yoga, but to be yogi means to have an impact of yoga in life. This is why you are only able to credit your savings account some of the time, but not all of the time. Whilst moving along, your percentage of remembrance becomes ordinary. Very little is then credited into your savings account. Secondly, there was a heart-to-heart conversation about service. You do a lot of service. You even remain busy day and night. You make very good plans, and there is also very good expansion in service. Nevertheless, why is the savings account so small for the majority of you? What emerged from the heart-to-heart conversation was that all of you are doing service and you are making effort very well to keep yourselves busy. So what is the reason? The reason that emerged was that you receive power from service and also the fruit of service. The power is the contentment within your own heart. And the fruit is the contentment of everyone else. If you do service and make effort and use your time, let there be contentment in your heart and contentment from everyone else, whether your companions or those whom you serve. Let there be the experience of contentment in their heart. It shouldn't be that they go away just saying, very good, very good. They should experience a wave of contentment in their heart. It is a different matter to say, we got something or we heard something very good. But they should say, we have found something. We have attained something. As Bapdada has already told you earlier, one is for the arrow to hit the head, and the other is for the arrow to pierce the heart. To have served and to be content oneself is not just about making oneself happy and saying that what happened was very good. No, the heart means contentment for the self and for everyone. Secondly, when you have served and the result is that you claim that you made effort and you did it, if you accept that you have done it yourself, it means you have eaten the fruit of service. You haven't accumulated it. It was Bap Dada who made you do it. Then you will have drawn their attention to Bap Dada, not towards your own soul. It shouldn't be. This sister is very good. This brother is very good. It should be their Bap Dada is very good. Otherwise, it's like eating a raw fruit and then afterwards it gives you indigestion and tummy aches. That's what happens. But if it is Baba who has done it, so then the fruit is ripe and it will benefit everyone. To make them experience this is to increase your savings account. This is why it has been seen that as a total result, you do make a lot of effort, you do use a lot of time and energy, but you have a little more external show. This is why the savings account is so much less. The key to the savings account is very easy. It is the diamond key. You use the golden key. However, the diamond key for accumulating is the consciousness of being a humble instrument. At the time of serving, not before or after, but at the time of serving, have the consciousness of being a humble instrument and let there be altruistic good wishes and pure love for every soul, whether they are your companions or the souls whom you serve. Bap Dada showed Mother Jagdamba how the savings account of those who continue to serve with this method continues to increase. You should be able to accumulate within a second as much as you now do for many hours. Every second continues to tick away, tick, 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 telling you to do everything fast. It is as though a machine is moving. Therefore, Jagdamba was very pleased to see that it is very easy to accumulate and credit your savings account. So the advice from both Bap Dada and Jagdamba is that now that the new year is starting, check your savings account even though you did not make mistakes throughout the whole day, but how much you accumulated throughout the whole day through your time, thoughts, service, close contacts and relations, with love and contentment. Some children just check that they didn't do anything bad that day or that they didn't cause anyone sorrow. However, now check how much you accumulated in your account through your elevated thoughts throughout the day. How much did you credit your account of service through elevated thoughts? How many souls did you make happy through any task? You had yoga, but what was the percentage of yoga? How much did you accumulate in your account of blessings today? What do you have to do in this new year? No matter what you do, whether through thoughts, words, or deeds, according to the time, there should be this deep concern in your mind. I definitely have to become a constant great donor. A constant great donor, not just a great donor constant. Donate powers through the mind, donate knowledge through words, and donate virtues through your actions. In today's world, whether in the world of Brahmin family or in the outside world, they no longer want to hear about everything. They want to see everything. They want to do everything after seeing it. Why was it easy for you? You saw Father Brahma as the image who donated virtues through his actions. You donate knowledge anyway. However, this year, pay special attention to donating virtues in every soul, to every soul. That is, you have to give cooperation through the virtues in your life. You wouldn't donate to Brahmins, would you? You would cooperate with them. So cooperation with Brahmins and donation to the other souls. No matter what happens, no matter how many weaknesses others have, you donate virtues through your life, your actions, and your contacts. That is, you have to cooperate. Don't look at others in this. This one is not doing it, so why should I do it? This one is also like this. Father Brahma only looked at Father Shiva. If you have to look at someone, look at Father Brahma. Don't look at others in this, but keep the aim. That was Brahma Baba's slogan. The one who takes the initiative is Arjun. No? So Arjun means a unique, special soul. That is, those who become instruments of their own accord will become number one Arjun. Father Brahma became number one Arjun. If you do everything by first looking at others, you do not become number one. No? Baba says, don't look at others, otherwise you won't be able to become number one or come in first division with Brahma Baba. But number wise. So Father Brahma became number one Arjun. So Arjun has lots of meanings. Once, they said it has more than 52 meanings. So, but here it means the one who does it. Sometimes initiative, sometimes they say grind your own ingredients and do it. So if you do everything by first looking at others, you do not become number one, but number wise. When you are all asked to raise your hand, do you raise it for becoming number wise or for becoming number one? So what aim will you keep? A very firm, constant donor of virtues. So Baba is saying, keep the aim a very firm, constant donor of virtues. No matter how much someone tries to shake you, don't shake. You all say to one another, everyone else is like this. So why are you beating yourself in this way? You should also join us. You can find many companions to weaken you. However, Bap Dada wants companions who encourage others and give them enthusiasm. So, do you understand what you have to do? do service, but do it whilst increasing your, remember the theme today, what does Baba said? Savings account. So do service, but do it whilst increasing your savings account. And for service, Baba said, always remember you are a humble instrument. Do a lot of service. First, serve yourself and then serve others. Bap Dada noted one more thing. Should he relate it? Today, it was the meeting of the moon and the sun. Mother Jagdamba asked Bap Dada something very quietly, very tactfully. Jagdamba asked, how much longer will the advance party have to wait? You know, from time to time, that is all the daddies, advanced daddies, whenever we hear their messages, they say, we are ready, but how long will your other children in the Sakar, in this world, will take to get ready? And so Mama asked the same thing. So Baba, only when you reach your advanced stage can the work of the advanced party be completed. So what was the thing that Mother Jagdamba related? Bap Dada knows, but nevertheless, it was a heart-to-heart conversation today. She said, I too go on a tour of Madhuban and also of all the centers. Those who saw Jagdamba know of her that she would jokingly signal through her words. She never said anything directly. She said that nowadays she sees one speciality. What is that speciality? She said that nowadays there are many types of carelessness. Some have one type of carelessness and others another type. It will happen. I will do it at some time. Others are doing it and I will also do it. This happens all the time. This will continue. This language of carelessness is in their thoughts anyway. But they also put it into words. Bap Dada said, give these children a method for this in the new year. Do you all know the slogan, Mother Jagdamba always imbibed herself? Do you remember Mama's slogans? She had quite a few. She practiced. So Baba, because today it was Jagdamba Mother, the moon and the sun, Shiv Baba, Bap Dada, they were conversing, and so Baba asked Mama to give us her slogan. So Baba says, do you all, so Bap Dada asked Mama, give these children a method for this in the new year. Do you all know the slogan, Mother Jagdamba always imbibed herself? She did it, put it into practical life. Do you remember this? Who remembers this? So somebody, it is in the bracket, so somebody must have answered Baba. Hukam hi hukam chala raha hai. The one giving orders is making me do everything. So Shiv Baba's Srimats, Shiv Baba's orders, he is giving me orders and making me move along, and I'm doing it. That was Mama's slogan, and she did it in the practical life. So the one giving orders is making me do everything. Jagdamba said, if everyone were to imbibe this, that Bap Dada is making each one of you move, that your every step is according to his directions. If you have the awareness that it is the Father who is directly making you move, then where would your vision go? The vision of the one following directions will only fall on the one giving the directions, not on anyone else. Karavanhar is making you an instrument and making you move. So Shiv Baba is the one who is making you do it, and I am the doer. I'm doing it. Karavanhar is responsible. Then your head that becomes heavy in service would always remain light. Like a spiritual rose. So if you have this consciousness, Karavanhar, who is making me move along, making me an instrument, giving me instructions, and Baba also takes the responsibility. So I'm doing accordingly. And then your head that becomes heavy in service would always remain light, like a spiritual rose. Do you understand what you have to do? Be a constant, great donor. Acha. All of you have come running to celebrate the New Year. It is good and it is full house. Acha. Acha. Om Shanti.
So, a great morally, we can really feel Mama's presence.
Yeah.
Ben, would you like to share something?
Well, I'm sure others will have a lot to after hearing this. So,
Good.
well, like I just remember today's Murli, Baba was cautioning Mama that all this, negativity that Laksh pointed out, carelessness and laziness, I'll do later, or so-and-so is doing this. And so Baba was saying, just stay in your self-respect and just do it and make your life a yogi life by bringing Baba's directions and putting it into practical life. And so that is yoga. And today, and be aware, Baba has been mentioning about Maya. And, because Mamas is like power, in the avyakta signals, power to discern, power to discern, parak, yeah. We will get all those tests. So today also Baba mentioned those demons, like they all were names of female demons like Supankha and Putna. So they are just the ones who, like demons, come in the form of those negative thoughts, Mama was saying. So you just stay stable in the journey, because in the scriptures there are lots of examples. Lots of these things came in front of, they said think Krishna, but it was Brahma Baba. But Baba stayed stable by the Swadarsan Chakra, the discus of self-realization. So Baba's, like we saw Dadi Janki, she gave us so many classes, everybody loved, because her Swadarsan Chakra was going so fast. She was churning all the time. So Krishna just cut away the demons, ahead of the demons, means this negativity and other wasteful, unnecessary thoughts. She didn't allow, and she made her intellect so clean and clear. So Baba has been talking about clean, clear intellect and like Supankha. And now there's a nice message we are going to, but we might after, because yeah, in the Muli yesterday was about repentance and realize, and so all that. So other time, because it's in Hindi, so you'll have to Shailen will have to translate it, and it will take some time, or an hour or so. So we'll do that when we can manage.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come in and make some comments?
Brother Shalan, I just wanted to ask, you were saying that part of Mama remains in Soul's world. So when we do meditation, can we see Mama and Daddy Janki and those souls that have gone on?
Yes, because they've attained this angelic stage. So as we were hearing in the Morali just now, Bab Dada were discussing with Mama the children's chart and progress and methods for improvement. So very much so that you've got Bab Dada, but you've also got this team of angels that you can call on to help out. And Baba's wanting all of the Brahmins to finish their past accounts to achieve that Karmatit stage because it unshackles part of our mind. And so with these souls, their mind has been unshackled and it's able to achieve these multiple forms, like an angelic form, together with being in the physical form. And it's that angelic form which we are connecting with.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lynette, Ben, great to see you back on your veranda in the sunshine.
Thank you. You know what I like a lot about this Murali that was read. It says that when you do service or when you're serving others, it's not you serving. Baba is serving through you, which is something I always understood. But hearing it is it makes a difference because we serve and we serve so many souls in so many different ways, but it's not us doing it really. Once that soul gets what they need to get. Chanti.
Yes, Baba was giving us an insight. I've heard in another Morley as well, Baba put it this way, that children think they've accumulated a lot in their accounts, but when Baba checks, it's not accumulated as much. And there was, like, I would probably say 1998 to maybe 2003. There's a whole period there where Baba talks a lot about this accumulation and savings accounts. So he wasn't so direct in this morally, but he was implying that we're not actually accumulating as much as we might think we are, because our consciousness is not quite right a lot of the time. He was saying that where we forget that Baba is the one benefiting the other soul, and we have any level of consciousness that we can benefit another soul, then what might happen is that soul then begins remembering us. Because, of course, when you take benefit from someone, the most normal thing is you feel gratitude and you begin to feel that connection with that person. But as Brahmins, we have to be very cautious because for so many centuries, we've been turning people's attention towards deities, gurus, religious, so many bodily beings. And at Confluence Age, we actually have to turn everyone's attention to the incorporeal. And this is really where Baba wants us to check ourselves. And to do that, he used the term humble instrument. So it's a very, not just instrument. So we can be an instrument, but he's adding this word humble into it. And this humility means that I'm really not trying to fulfill myself within that process, because as long as we are needy, then our ego will want fulfillment through the service that we are instruments for, and we won't be able to resist that. But I think with these souls like Mama, they very naturally had this egolessness. It was very, very natural. One of the biggest impacts that Daddy Prakashmani and Daddy Gulzar left with me was that just this, not even an egolessness, but it was an absence of having an ego. It was very, very, it was a transparent consciousness. And so why is it that Baba made them main instruments? I think this is what he's looking for. He's looking for souls that will not try and fulfill themselves through the roles they're playing. And the more that we clarify ourselves on the inside, actually Baba can do more through us. He'll trust us even more to get things done, and his vibrations will come through more powerfully. So you're right. And he was also then talking about, for me, the big point. You might all remember that I was asking this question to all of you a couple of weeks ago. How do we increase our absorption rate? And for me, the line that jumped out in today's Morally was, you should be accumulating in 1 second what you are now accumulating in many hours. And this is really what I'm very interested in, that how did Mama and Baba become Karmatit in 30 years? They did it really quickly, and they accumulated enough to become Lakshmi and Narayan. And we as Brahmins, we're having yoga, but we're sort of gradually, incrementally moving bit by bit. But Baba's saying that it's about absorption rate here. That if you develop your yoga so that it's not breaking, but you're able to develop a constant stage of yoga, you're able to maintain that quality of yoga throughout the day, then you're going to reach, your absorption capacity will increase. And now what you're taking many hours to accumulate, you'll do it in a second. So not even in an hour or a minute. I mean, it was very specific. You get the same attainment through yoga that you might get in many hours just in 1 second. And so you can see how Mama and Baba, they would have absorbed a great deal in a short space of time. And this is what Baba's saying to all of us, that we don't have so much time. We've got to really get on with the absorption. Would anyone else like to make any comments? Okay, well, thank you all. Let's finish off with the video one. So really great to have you all in this chit chat, and thank you for sharing things which I think has made us all think. Shall we all spend the week practicing concentration, this concept of dead silence, exercising our muscles of the mind and intellect? 5 seconds concentration, 10 seconds, and then building our flexibility so that when we sit properly in yoga, we then try and hold 30 seconds in one thought of being an incorporeal soul in the soul world. When we are interacting with other people, let's practice using our listening time to just disappear and go up to the soul world, touch base with Baba up there, even for a few seconds. And let's practice having Shiv Baba between ourselves and the other person, so that we're looking through Shiv Baba at that soul, and we'll probably remember the soul as well. So let's practice these methods. Let's have an extra chair in the room for Baba. And when we're particularly concentrating on some paperwork or other things, and we're not able to really practice being bodiless, or even remember Baba consciously. Just in the back of our mind, we're aware that Baba's sitting on the chair, in the room, looking at us, so giving us vibration. So that might give us extra focus as well and help our awareness. Let's practice these methods this week. And then we'll touch base again when we meet either next week or the week after. And so this coming Friday is the actual Mama's Day anniversary, the 24th of June. And so I expect there might be certain transmissions from Madhuban. I'm not sure if there's anything particularly also on the Saturday, so let's see how things go. And then we'll see, we'll take it from there. So I'll send through some other materials on Mama on the WhatsApp during the week. And look out, I think they would probably offer Borg on the Friday morning, something like maybe around about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock British summertime, I think. So there might be some transmission, and even if you don't catch it live, I'll try and send the transmission video afterwards. So look out for those extra Borg messages. It'll be interesting maybe to hear from Mama. And gain some new insights this week as well. Shanti, everyone. Have a great week.
Om
Shanti, brother and sister. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Shanti, great to have you all here. Shanti, Barbara Ben, Cicely Ben, Shanti. Shanti, Judy Ben, Shanti, Leonard Ben.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, Baiji.
Shanti, Barbara Ben, great to see you. Thanks
Okay.
for joining.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And Shanti to those of you on the YouTube video afterwards. Shanti.
Michael?